And what more can I say? He's won MVPs, led his team to the finals, and is inching one step closer to becoming the all-time big man in the NBA. Literally everything. He's already got a better resume than 99% of the players in the league, and he's barely entering his prime. But they actually dared to substitute his draft moment on TV with a Taco Bell ad. So what happened to the 40 players that heard their name drafted before the Joker?
The Cleveland Cavaliers select Andrew Wiggins.
Maple Jordan headlined in the wild 2014 NBA draft class. While a lot of people were quick to label Wiggs a bust, he found a new home in Golden State and became a key piece on a championship-winning team, though he never nearly reached the massive hype he had entering the NBA. No, he didn't reach the lofty LeBron comparisons, but how many guys can? He's one of the best two-way players in the NBA, made a couple of All-Star teams, won a chip, and he's had more than a solid career thus far. Sure, he's maybe not a takeover superstar with his offensive game, but he's someone that can take care of the opposing team's best offensive player and has provided teams he's been on with a spark plug and high energy. Just go back to last postseason and last year's NBA Finals and tell me you didn't notice the superb job Wiggins did defensively on Jason Tatum and even Jaylen Brown. Tatum, who averaged better than 30 points per game last season and among the MVP candidates, was held in the last year's NBA Finals to just 21.5 points per game on 37% shooting overall from the floor. And that includes a series-high 23 turnovers. And his running mate Jaylen Brown wasn't much better, with 20 turnovers through those 6 games and shooting just 43% from the floor. And yes, Andrew Wiggins is fully deserving of being credited with limiting both of those Celtics All-Stars and forcing them into a poor series. Bust? Not even close.
The Milwaukee Bucks select Jabari Parker.
Perhaps not just the biggest what-if in this year's draft class, but one of the biggest what-ifs ever. All it took was 25 career games for Jabari Parker to suffer his first major injury when he tore his ACL while his rookie season was still young. Still, he came back with the same potential and flashed his highly skilled game, even averaging better than 20 points per game in his third season. But he hasn't played more than 70 games in a season since 2016. The Bucks gave up on him after 4 seasons when he was only 22, but unfortunately, the injuries never stopped regardless of the team Jabari played for. He's currently out of the league after appearing in just 12 games last season.
The Philadelphia 76ers select Joel Embiid.
There was genuine concern if Joel Embiid would ever get the chance to showcase his true potential, and it was because of a broken bone in his foot he suffered during his last season in Kansas. And an even bigger red flag emerged once he suffered another setback and was ruled out for his sophomore season, pushing Embiid's NBA debut to the fall of 2016, more than 2 years after being drafted. As Philly fans desperately anticipated seeing their new face of the franchise out on the court, let's just say he's had a pretty good career since, especially going from being in the process in Philly to becoming the process these last few years. Joel Embiid was discovered by Luc Mbah a Moute, another Cameroon native and an NBA player at a basketball camp in the country. Embiid moved to the US at the age of 16, taking Moute as his mentor. He attended the Rock School in Gainesville, Florida, where he averaged 13 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks his senior season. Then Joel attended the University of Kansas, where he played for the Jayhawks in 2013 through 2014. In his only season there, he played 28 games in which he averaged 8 rebounds, 2.6 blocks, and 11 points. He was given the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year honors and also made the second team All-Big 12. He, however, missed the Big 12 tournament as well as the NCAA tournament due to an injury. Joel Embiid declared for the 2014 NBA Draft. He was selected with the 3rd overall pick by the Philadelphia 76ers 6 days after his declaration. He's been injury-prone, no doubt, even suffering a torn meniscus in his official rookie season in the 2016-2017 season. But he's an MVP and recently became the first center since his idol Hakeem Olajuwon to win back-to-back scoring titles.
The Orlando Magic select Aaron Gordon.
Aaron Gordon just played a crucial role in the 4-game sweep of the Los Angeles Lakers, finally finding a home and his role on a roster best suited for him after he was nothing more than a high flyer in his Orlando days. Okay, maybe he could shoot a little bit too. A lot of people have either forgotten or just didn't know, but Aaron Gordon led Team USA to the 2011 FIBA America's Under-16 Championship gold medal by putting up monster numbers of 17 points, 11.2 rebounds, and over 3 blocks per game. Gordon then went on to be named MVP while leading the United States to a gold medal at the 2013 FIBA Under-19 World Cup by averaging team highs of 16 points and just over 6 boards and shooting 61.2% from the field. He was also named to the 2011-2012 USA Developmental National Team and participated in the 2010 USA Basketball Developmental National Team minicamp. That's a tongue twister. Oh, and he gave us some historic dunks in that iconic 2016 NBA dunk contest with his fellow draft counterpart, Zach LaVine.
The Utah Jazz select Dante Exum.
Dante Exum was once seen as a potential franchise turner when the Utah Jazz took him with the 5th pick. After appearing in all 82 games in his rookie season, he never started more than 26 games ever in his career and dealt with many significant injuries throughout. Dante Exum played for Australia's junior national team at the 2012 FIBA Under-17 World Cup, where he was named to the All-Tournament team, as well as the 2013 FIBA Under-19 World Cup, again being named to the All-Tournament team. That year was also the same year that Exum debuted for the senior national team, playing against New Zealand at the 2013 FIBA Oceania Cup. He also played for Australia at the 2014 FIBA World Cup. Dante had a decent career in the NBA playing for the Utah Jazz, the Cleveland Cavaliers, but after that he got traded a little bit, and at the end of 2021 he got waived by the Rockets. At the end of 21, he signed with Barcelona and then has recently just signed with Partizan Belgrade and is playing overseas basketball.
The Boston Celtics select Marcus Smart.
You love him if he's on your side and hate him if he isn't. Smart's one of those players who made a valuable career out of his scrappy and gritty reputation as one of the league's most physical defenders. In 2022, Smart became the first guard since Gary Payton over 2 decades ago to win the Defensive Player of the Year award and has helped lead the Celtics defense to finish back-to-back seasons, allowing the fewest points in the NBA. All in all, he's been a super valuable cog in the Celtics system since being drafted. He's now the longest tenured player on the Celtics and the pound-for-pound leader for the C's. Let's just say his physicality has led him to become quite the fan favorite up in Boston. Just not in Golden State because fans up there are still a little bit bitter over Smart's run-in with Steph Curry last season.
The Los Angeles Lakers select Julius Randle.
Julius Randle got 2 years of Kobe Bryant as his teammate to soak up as much as he could before Kobe retired. And he was this close to playing with LeBron on the Lakers too, but Randle left in 2018 to sign with the New Orleans Pelicans. Randle has been impressively durable after suffering a gruesome broken leg just minutes into his NBA debut, which understandably put a lot of doubt in the hearts of Lakers fans and the organization, hoping that Randle wouldn't turn into one of those special talents robbed by injuries. But Randle has put together a solid career, finding huge success after leaving New Orleans in 2019 to sign with the Knicks. He is now the leading scorer on the Knicks along with Jalen Brunson and has made 2 All-Star appearances and 2 All-NBA teams in 4 seasons in the Big Apple.
The Sacramento Kings select Nick Stauskas.
The 8th pick in the draft was Nick Stauskas, who was last seen a year ago in 2022 with the Boston Celtics team that made the NBA Finals. Stauskas was a 4-star recruit who shot a sharp 43% from the 3-point range in his 2 seasons at Michigan. And for that reason, he was voted the best shooter in the 2014 draft by his peers. Unfortunately, Stauskas' red-hot shooting in college did not translate to the pros, as he shot in the low 30s in his rookie season with the Kings in 2015. He then bounced around the league to teams like Philly, Portland, Cleveland, and now he was out of the league but still trying to make his way back onto an NBA roster.
The Charlotte Hornets select Noah Vonleh.
Noah Vonleh left the NBA in 2021 to go play overseas for a year in China before he ultimately decided to make an NBA comeback this recently concluded 2023 season. The Celtics picked him up during the season and he appeared in 23 games and even started 1 game. There is promise for the young Vonleh entering the NBA at just 19 years old, but he was traded to the Blazers after his rookie season and has never found a home since, going from roster to roster.
The Philadelphia 76ers select Elfrid Payton.
Apart from his crazy hairstyle and crazy promise to never cut his hair until he won an NBA championship, which we see didn't really work out, Elfrid Payton was a solid NBA point guard for multiple teams with the triple-double capabilities on any given night. The only issue was his health. He only played in 70 or more games in 3 of his 9 seasons, including 5 of those seasons playing 50 games or fewer, which sucks because he had all the tools to become a star point guard in the NBA. Okay, maybe not star, but maybe like a nice sixth man off the bench. As a junior in the 2014 season, Elfrid Payton quickly rose to the top among prospects as one of the top defensive players in college basketball. He raised his averages to over 19 points per game, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, and 2 steals per game, and led the Ragin' Cajuns to the 2014 NCAA tournament. He was again named first team All-Sun Belt and was the conference defensive player of the year. At the end of the season, he was named the National Defensive Player of the Year by winning the Lefty Driesell Award. After not getting a call from any team this past season, Payton first decided to go play in the G League before changing his mind a week later to chase a bigger bag overseas. He signed with the Puerto Rican club in February.
The Denver Nuggets select Doug McDermott.
Remember how I said Nick Stauskas was voted as the best shooter by his peers of the 2014 draftees? Well, a close second was this guy, Doug McDermott. And unlike his man Stauskas, McDermott actually shot the ball really well in the NBA, and still does, actually having 6 seasons under his belt shooting at least 40% from the three. Though he isn't remotely the guy he was in college, you know, that guy who averaged 27 points on over 50% from the floor and 45% from three, ring a bell? McDermott led the nation in scoring in his last season at the collegiate level. At the end of his college career, he ranked 5th on all-time NCAA Division I scoring list, with over 3,000 points, which was good enough to pass the great Larry Bird. Now that's saying something. McDermott became the first player in 29 years to be named to the AP All-America First Team 3 times, and he's one of the 3 players in NCAA's men's basketball history to record 3,000 points and 1,000 rebounds. McDermott also has set an NCAA record by scoring in double figures in 135 games. If only he was this nice in the NBA, right? But his right arm has at least kept him afloat in the NBA because that man can really shoot.
The Orlando Magic select Dario Saric.
Dario Saric made the all-rookie team in his first season. Then he followed that nice season up by bumping his scoring average to 15 and skyrocketing his three-point percentage to nearly 40% in his sophomore season. Something that gave Philly fans, at least for the moment, huge hope that Saric would be another piece in the trust the process Philly rebuild. And who knows, that could have very well been the case had Philly not pulled the trigger on a Jimmy Butler trade that sent Saric to the Minnesota Timberwolves. But I mean, it's Jimmy, can't fault Philly for making the move. After an unfortunate ACL tear in 2021, Saric never quite looked like that once emerging star. Not trying to say he was on his way to becoming Moses Malone or anything, but going from 15 a game to just 7 is a pretty big gap.
The Minnesota Timberwolves select Zach LaVine.
Hey, here's another guy that was drafted for Jimmy Butler. In all seriousness, Zach LaVine is a rare talent that can jump out the gym and get ISO buckets. He was once a part of the T-Wolves' young rebuilding roster with Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns, but then the Minnesota Timberwolves decided to send him to Chicago for fellow bucket getter Jimmy Buckets. LaVine's been a great fit in Chicago. They haven't won much though. But LaVine's no doubt showcased himself over the last handful of seasons, making 2 all-star teams and averaging an elite 24.5 points per game since he arrived in Chicago in 2017.
The Atlanta Hawks select Adrian Payne.
Rest in peace, Adrian Payne. Payne played for the Hawks, Wolves, and Magic in his 3 years in the NBA. He left the NBA in 2017 for the G League before opting to play overseas. However, he was shot and killed in May of last year in Orlando. R.I.P.
The Chicago Bulls select Yusuf Nurkic.
On a brighter note, as solid of a double-double guy we have in the NBA, Yusuf Nurkic has been a star-quality big for Dame and the Portland Trail Blazers for several years now. Though I'd contend that his beef with LeBron James has been the bigger storyline of his career. We know LeBron threw down a poster on him in 2018, and then at the start of the following season, Nurkic paid LeBron back, but he did it by gesturing a whiny baby at LeBron when he tried arguing a call with the ref, which I thought was just hilarious.
The Boston Celtics select James Young.
For a top 20 draft pick, James Young's career was super short-lived. He never started a game in the NBA and appeared in less than 100 career games. He was last seen with the Sixers in early 2018 before bouncing from the G League to playing for a few teams overseas.
The Phoenix Suns select Tyler Ennis.
Ennis played for the Suns, Bucks, Rockets, and Lakers during his short NBA career, and the last being with the Lakers in 2019 before leaving the NBA to play overseas in Turkey.
The Chicago Bulls select Gary Harris.
As a freshman at Michigan State University in 2012 through 2013, Gary Harris was named the Big Ten Freshman of the Year and became the first player at the school to win the award since 1986, and was also a second-team All-Big Ten selection. In 34 games, he averaged 13 points in just under 30 minutes per game. But it was the following season that helped propel Harris up the recruiting ranks and helped him punch his ticket into the NBA. Still a sophomore in 2013 through 2014, Harris earned his first-team All-Big Ten Defensive Team, USBWA All-District selection, and first-team NABC All-District after averaging nearly 17 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals in 32 minutes per game in 35 starts. Wow. He went for a 20-point, 10-rebound double-double in the first game of the season against McNeese State, and on January 25th, 2014, he recorded a career-high 27 points against Michigan. This guy is one of the first guys to come in mind when I think of a really solid NBA player who just knows how to play the right way. Gary Harris, however, has always battled injuries throughout his career, particularly as of late with the Orlando Magic. There's no question his best days came with the Nuggets when he had his best season in 2018, averaging 18 points on 40% from the three. And this meme of him won't ever get old.
The Toronto Raptors select Bruno Caboclo.
I haven't been paying attention, but Bruno's apparently a beast in the EuroLeague. But his NBA career was much of anything to write home about. He last played in 2020 for the Houston Rockets.
The Oklahoma City Thunder select Mitch McGary.
McGary played just a total of 52 games for the Oklahoma City Thunder with Durant and Westbrook. He was released by OKC in October of 2016 and has never played in the NBA since.
The Memphis Grizzlies select Jordan Adams.
The dude was a bucket in college, scoring 17 points per game and being named to the All-Conference First Team. But he played only 32 games in the NBA and is now playing overseas in Venezuela.
The Utah Jazz select Rodney Hood.
His days in Utah were by far the best days of his career. Rodney Hood is a proven scorer and shooter, but his career has drifted a ton since being traded to the Cavaliers in 2018, where he famously couldn't even throw the ball into the ocean after shooting 40% from 3 before that same year's trade deadline before coming to Cleveland. But that's only after Rodney Hood attended Meridian High School and quickly became a high school superstar, convincing folks that he'd one day make noise in the NBA. As a junior in the 2009-10 season, he averaged 22.1 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 4.4 assists per game while leading his team to the Class 6A finals. But his squad fell just short in the championship game, 57-51. As a senior, Hood posted ultra-elite averages of 24.8 points, 8.6 rebounds, 6.4 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks per game, as he lifted his team to a 29-2 record and helped them at last capture a Class 6A championship. During the semifinals of that 2010-11 campaign, he tallied 27 points when his team defeated Starkville 72-43, and in the title game against Vicksburg, he scored 24 points en route to the 62-47 victory. Rodney Hood was actually considered a 5-star recruit by Rivals.com. Shortly thereafter, he was ranked as the number 5 small forward and the number 16 player in the nation in 2011. In October 2010, he committed to Mississippi State University. He went unsigned in 2023 after going from Portland to Milwaukee to the Clippers 2 seasons ago.
The Charlotte Hornets select Shabazz Napier.
Shabazz Napier was drafted by the Hornets and then immediately sent to the Miami Heat on a draft day deal. He last played for the Wizards in the 2019 season after spending 7 seasons with 5 total teams. He's now playing overseas in the EuroLeague.
The Houston Rockets select Clint Capella.
A rebounding machine, led the NBA in total rebounds with 15 in 2021. And he's been as consistent as any role player has been in the NBA for almost the past decade. Capella even had a 27.26 rebound game just a couple of seasons ago. Legit. He was a crucial part of those James Harden, Chris Paul Houston Rockets teams that were this close to knocking off the Warriors in 2018 if it wasn't for Chris Paul's injury. Let's fast forward to today, he's the same old Capella, just on a different team catching lobs from Trae Young.
The Miami Heat select PJ Hairston.
After being away from basketball entirely for several years, PJ Hairston resumed his playing career just this year by joining the Virginia Dream in the East Coast Basketball League and leading the team to the playoffs. He last played on an NBA team in 2016, having played for the Charlotte Hornets for 2 seasons and ended up retiring before the start of the 28 season after not getting a call from any team. He said, and I quote, "My passion for the game will always be there, and I will forever stick around the game of basketball. I just feel that health is my best choice right now, and being healthy is way too important."
The Phoenix Suns select Bogdan Bogdanovic.
After spending a few seasons overseas in Serbia and Turkey, Bogdanovic made his NBA debut in 2017 for the Sacramento Kings as a 25-year-old sharpshooter. He was then traded to the Hawks, where he's been a consistent contributor as one of the best shooters in the NBA. He shot a career high of 44% from the three-point range in 2021.
The Los Angeles Clippers select C.J. Wilcox.
C.J. Wilcox had that rare skill set of athleticism and shooting at the collegiate level, though it never nearly translated to the NBA, as he averaged just 2 points per game for his career in 66 career games. He was last seen playing in the G League in 2020.
The Oklahoma City Thunder select Josh Huestis.
Josh Huestis last played for the OKC Thunder with Westbrook and George in 2018 and was later signed and waived by the Spurs before the start of the following season. He last played for the Cleveland Charge of the G League.
The San Antonio Spurs select Kyle Anderson.
Solid role player, but also caught a solid punch from Rudy Gobert. He goes by Mr. Slow-Mo and doesn't wow you with his game, but gets the job done. As a high schooler, Kyle Anderson led his teams to 2 consecutive state titles and was named the New Jersey Player of the Year during his senior year at St. Anthony High School, which is why he was one of the top recruits out of high school. Anderson was named second team All-Conference in the Pac-12 as a freshman at UCLA. The following season, he moved to point guard and was voted the most outstanding player of the Pac-12 tournament as the Bruins won their first conference tournament title in 6 years.
The Milwaukee Bucks select Damian Inglis.
Didn't do much at all in the NBA, but he went playing for a lot of different teams across the world. The good news is that he was a contributor to the 2023 Euro Cup champions.
The Philadelphia 76ers select KJ McDaniels.
McDaniels started his career with the Philadelphia 76ers and then played a couple of seasons with the Rockets before playing a few seasons in the G League. He then tried making an NBA comeback with the Nets in 2017, but has since fallen back into the G League.
The Cleveland Cavaliers select Joe Harris.
In my opinion, and the numbers may back it up, he's probably the best shooter in the 2014 draft. Joe Harris didn't see much playing time for a Cleveland team that still had LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin Love at the top. But ever since he was traded to the Nets, he's shot over 42% in 6 different seasons and also won the three-point contest in 2019. After signing with the Nets in 2016, Harris became one of 3 players to make 200 three-pointers in 1 season in the history of the Nets franchise, and is, surprisingly, the longest tenured player on the Nets roster even today. Harris led the NBA in three-point shooting in 2019 and again in 2021 and 2022. Joe Harris surpassed all-time great shooter Drazen Petrovic as the Nets' all-time leader in three-point field goal percentage and edged out Jason Kidd as the Nets' all-time leader in three-point field goals made. Pretty amazing stuff. Harris also currently ranks 4th in NBA history in career three-point field goal percentage.
The New York Knicks select Cleanthony Early.
Cleanthony Early was once thought of as a key rotational player that would help get the Knicks out of their losing culture just several years ago. But Early's second season in the NBA was cut short due to some horrific events that transpired midway through the season. When Early left the club in New York City one late night, he was immediately boxed in by several masked men that demanded Early give up whatever gold he had in his possession. He was eventually shot in the lower leg but survived, though he never played again in the NBA. He was only 24. He played a handful of games in the NBA until he was out of the league after the 2017 season. He's now having a solid career in China. There's always just an added touch of hope for the guys who have that last name, but he wasn't anything crazy. O'Bryant now plays in China after last playing in the NBA in 2018.
The Toronto Raptors select DeAndre Daniels.
Was a solid player at UConn during his college days and even won a national title. The Raptors drafted him, but he never played a single dribble in the NBA. He most recently played in the G League.
The Detroit Pistons select Spencer Dinwiddie.
Spencer Dinwiddie has been one of the better solid six men in the NBA for the last decade, because when you call his name, he'll get you a bucket. But somehow my man keeps getting traded back to the Nets. I don't know what's happening. Oh, and his beef with Kyle Kuzma took another turn recently when Dinwiddie fired back at Kuzma on Gilbert Arenas' podcast. The beef started earlier this year when Dinwiddie called out the Wizards for playing only for paychecks and not wins, to which Kuzma fired back and said Dinwiddie's team doesn't play winning basketball either. But let's not let all this get lost. Dinwiddie has been a lethal scoring machine for a minute and immediately makes an impact wherever he goes.
The Philadelphia 76ers select Jeremy Grant.
Grant was one of those late bloomers. Got drafted to a horrible 76ers team and then played in the shadows of a few superstars in OKC. But once he made his way over to Detroit and now Portland, he's been putting up all-star caliber numbers and shot a career-high 40% from 3 last season. On November 22, 2020, Jeremy Grant signed a 3-year, $60 million contract with the Detroit Pistons through a sign and trade with the Denver Nuggets, which would prove to be the real turning point in his career because just a couple of months later, Grant scored a then career-high 43 points against the Chicago Bulls. Grant ended the season as a Most Improved Player award finalist, finishing second behind Julius Randle while averaging a career-high in points per game. Last summer in July, Grant was traded to the Portland Trail Blazers, and in October, at the start of the season, he hit his first career game winner in a win over the Los Angeles Lakers before hitting another winner over the Phoenix Suns with 30 points just weeks later. Not to mention his career high in points with 44 that happened soon thereafter against the New York Knicks. This was the same guy that once averaged single-digit points for a terrible 76ers teams just years earlier.
The Minnesota Timberwolves select Glenn Robinson III.
Aw snap, you were just one pick away, Minnesota. One pick away from Nikola. Glenn Robinson won the 2017 NBA Slam Dunk Contest. Cool, but y'all were this close to drafting the Joker. Enough said. A decent draft with all things considered, definitely not the best, but far from the worst. But it's a crime that the best player in the draft fell to 41. Not a single player out of the first 40 came anywhere close to Nikola's career. Where do you think Nikola is going to land on the all-time greatest list when everything's said and done? But how crazy is it that 2 superstars of the NBA Finals both fell to the bottom of their draft classes? Jimmy Bucket's in that same boat as Nikola Jokić, who somehow happened to fall to the 30th pick in the 2011 NBA Draft. But 29 other teams regretted passing him up. We were this close to NBA history having a way different outcome than it is right now. Find out what happened to all the guys drafted ahead of Jimmy Butler right here. I promise you, it's gonna shock you.